Tony Schreiner, you are the CEO of Mass of the Ages and also Project Reclaim, which is a
Reclaim Films.
Reclaim Films, which is brand new. So new that I don't even get the name right. But
we'll talk about it. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Maybe, yeah. But it's a Christian film company that you're starting, a Catholic film empire.
I like the word empire.
All right,
Let's go with that.
There we go. So we're gonna figure it out. Also, you had a huge role to play in Discover Tradition, which people saw our interview with Austin Peck. And saw that episode. You were there with him the whole time.
Yes, we had a great time.
Yeah,
Austin's crazy and amazing, and it was beautiful. Southern Spain, Holy Week. It was a really great time, and I hope we can do more of those.
Oh man, I hope so too. But so you have all of this work that you're doing in the film industry, but when I went down to Ave Maria, where you guys are located now, to do Movie Crusade, which I had an absolute blast doing that, by the way.
It was so fun.
I'm still a little bit miffed at you though for wait, switching your vote on.
I did. I switched it on something.
It was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's my favorite movie. You switched it back to like one of Cameron's dumb movies or something like that. I don't know. But
now I remember that.
Yeah,
no, that kind of miffed you a little bit.
But I forgave you. It's okay.
Thank you.
It's okay. Anyway, we had a great time just hanging out.
Awesome time.
And I remember when you picked me up at the airport, we were driving back, and you started telling me a little bit about your conversion story.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you need to come to Iowa and share this with us. And here you are.
Yeah, we made it. I must admit, I don't think I've driven through Iowa. This is the first time I have been stationary in Iowa. So this is a blast.
What do you think, man?
I really like Southern Florida. No, Iowa's awesome. It's not Iowa at its best because right now it's a little cold and snowy, but that's okay.
Oh man, it's terrible.
Yeah. I will let you say that. I'm not going to say that.
Well,
But yeah, Southern Florida's great. Iowa's great. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And thank you for all of the work you do with your conversion story, helping people to convert. And when people do convert, they're clueless. Like that's what I was telling Allison about after I met you, because that drive from the airport was so fun because we were going back and forth and talking, and I'm trying to figure out who in the world is Keith Nestor. You're trying to figure out who I am, and we're swapping stories. And I'm telling my wife a couple days later, whenever you leave, I'm like, finally somebody who's not just talking but helping people. So I really appreciate that you're doing that, because when I converted, we'll talk about that, the conversion and how it happened, but that was part of the frustration, even for people who are cradle Catholics like my wife. She was never really taught the faith. So she didn't really know, like we both were like, what do we do? We didn't know. And so I love that you're actually trying to help people out with that. So when people do convert, they're like, okay, here's some next steps of what I can do. You wrote a book about it, right? You wrote a book. And so, yeah, that's huge. So conversion story, Keith, I mean, it's going to take like 7 or 8 hours, but I mean, we'll be okay, right? It's okay.
Man. What else are we going to do?
What else are we going to do?
Freeze?
We're going to stay in here and do it. So let's go back to, there's a lot of things that I've thought about, because we obviously had to plan this out, and I've been thinking about, well, I don't want to say this or I don't want to say that. So I'm just going to let it all out.
Yeah.
See what happens. So my parents divorced when I was like 1 or 2. It was, we're both pretty much the same age. So it was like 76 or 77. So I was like 1 or 2 years old when they divorced. And there's like a crazy like Paul Harvey part of that story. Like there's the rest of the story, because I actually, for the first time ever, like I had a horrible relationship. I shouldn't say horrible. Didn't have a great relationship with my parents, just because I guess just how it worked. So it wasn't until maybe it was less than a year ago that I was sitting in my mom's house, and she was explaining things to me about when my father left her. and how she hated the Catholic faith because he was Catholic. My father was Catholic. My biological father was Catholic, but he left my mother, but he never practiced the faith after probably high school, it doesn't seem like. Anyway, so when I grew up, my biological my mother, she got remarried. So I lived with my mother and my stepfather and my sister. It was just the three of us. Pardon me, four. I can't do the math. It was just the four of us. We had no faith. Like there was zero faith. There was zero Catholicism, but then there was no faith whatsoever of any kind. So when people talk about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, like I would have had no idea what that meant as a child growing up. I talk to my kids about that a lot today. So Allie and I have 9 kids, and I talk to her about, I talk to the kids about the faith all the time. I'm like, guys, you have this beautiful diamond that we've chiseled out of the rock for you. Like, do something with it. Because, for me, and even so for my wife, your mom, I'm talking to my kids, like we were chiseling away because of all the stuff that we had to learn. And anyway, so grow up, no faith. Things happened in my childhood that were really like brutally difficult, that things that I held on to for decades. In fact, I remember the first time I told Allison, you know how you when you do something and you know where you were, exactly where you were. Like, I can't remember what I had for dinner last night, but I can remember where I was when I told her the things that had happened to me as a child. Like I just couldn't take it any longer. And I was in a kitchen at this house that we lived in Indianapolis. I was like, I just got to get this stuff off my chest. Like, this is what happened to me when I was a kid, and it freaking sucks. And I'm still mad about all these things, and I just let it all out. And I think I did the math, and it was like 34 years I had held on to these things because you didn't want to. And you deal with abuse, you don't want to talk about it because you're hurt, especially as a kid. So I dealt with that. And so when I was a teenager, how I dealt with that abuse that had happened to me as a child was pretty much like this destruction. I was, hey, I'm gonna do all these things, and I felt invincible, but I think I was really trying to destroy myself. So I was early on. Probably started around, I think 14 or 15, drinking heavily, and then immediately escalated into drugs. And it wasn't like that was an uncommon thing. I mean, there were many of us in high school that were doing these things. So it wasn't oh, nobody's ever done alcohol and drugs in high school. Like, no, that happens a lot. So, and it happens, unfortunately, today. It happens all the time. So, got into that really, really heavy, but it sadly opened up this world of like, okay, I feel like I have control over this world because I'm the one doing that. Nobody's telling me what to do. When I grew up, my mother and stepfather would tell me, do this, do that, and I hated it. I hated being told what to do, and that was part of, I think, more of the how I dealt with things too. It's like, hey, I don't want to have to answer to people all the time. I want to have control over what I do. And so I got into dealing drugs in high school, and I loved it. I loved it because I was making money, and I wanted to make a name for myself. I wanted to be able to say like, okay, this is mine. I don't have to go asking my parents for anything. I can get whatever it is that I want. Like I can get my own car, my own motorcycle, everything. So I was leading this double life in high school where I was acting like I was a pretty darn good kid for my parents. But then I was lying to them about going out and doing these things. I would say, hey, I'm spending the night at a friend's house. But looking back, it was like every Friday and Saturday night in high school, I was out. At first, it was just, drinking and taking drugs, and then I was selling and dealing, and that was in Indianapolis. And there was a really big high school on my side of town that was a great place to sell drugs because there's a ton of kids. So did that, and as a part of like my don't let my parents know what I'm doing plan, I needed a place to crash. And I had been burning some bridges with friends because I was like, oh yeah, well, I'll just go hang out with Kyle or Ryan or Trent or whoever. But I wasn't a good person. And I lost my friends because they saw me dealing and they saw what it was kind of turning me into. And I was looking at things on a transactional basis and not having relationships. So really didn't have friends, but the ones that I would say like, oh, I would call this guy my friend, but even I was burning those bridges. So I had really no place to go. So I turned to my grandparents. So my biological father, his parents, so the guy who left, which by the way, part of the story, which is sad but true, I would see him sometimes once a year, sometimes once every 2 or 3 years. And that pissed me off. It was like, growing up and, my stepfather, I think I would say, he's dead. I hope he's in heaven, but he didn't have any faith. And, I really hope he's in heaven, but he, was difficult to live with. So there were so many times where I was like, man, I just wish I could have my dad, like my biological father here, but it just wasn't a thing. So, but his parents, my grandparents, I was always close to, even as a child. So we would go over there a lot because it seemed like for my mother and stepfather, it seemed like they didn't really want to be parents. I'm not trying to like dump on them right now. I'm just saying like, it seems like they were like, yeah, you want to go to your grandparents? Great, go. And I would go all the time growing up. Well, then I got into, then I started I was doing bad things in high school, but I would go over there and basically crash at night. So I got a key, like grandma gave me a key to the house, and I would show up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and then they had a spare bedroom, and I would crash. And I remember grandma, I would hear them talk, and my grandmother would always be like, Bob, he's just blowing off steam. Let him come in at whatever, time of the night he wants to come in, and so on and so forth. Well, then so I'm a senior in high school, and one evening, I came home. Well, it was early in the morning. I came home to my grandparents. It was, super late, and my grandfather was up, and he was like, "Hey, your grandmother is going to let you come over here all the time." And my grandpa was a cool guy. He never was like a mean guy or anything, but he, for the first time ever, he like confronted me. He was like, if you're going to come over here at whatever o'clock in the morning on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, you're going to go to mass with us on Sunday morning. Cause they went to mass, every Sunday morning. They went to mass, and I had no idea what they were doing. Like it made no sense to me because I wasn't Catholic. So I was like, Grandpa, it's like 4:15 in the morning. He was like, well, we're going to mass at 7:30, so I'll wake you up. I was like, okay. So, I got a couple hours of sleep. He wakes me up, and, I'm not dressed for mass, but I jump in the car, I go with him, and I do that like probably 3 or 4 times. And for me, it's like, Keith, I was like, look, this is just what I have to do to play my game. Like, fine, Grandpa, if you want me to go to mass,
I'll crash here.
Exactly.
Sure, no problem.
Let me do my thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, so that's fine. Well, so let's fast forward to later on my senior year. I'd already been arrested twice. And I remember this one particular, I come home late to my grandparents again, and I'm already kind of feeling it. I'm like, okay, I've been arrested twice. I'm young. I'm making a ton of money, but things aren't, like, I know deep down inside things aren't really where they should be. Well, it's Saturday night, early Sunday morning, so I know I got to go to mass. So I go through the motions, right? And I even leave a pair of khakis and a relatively nice shirt over there. So I go to mass. Well, this particular Sunday was quite different because the place was packed. And I was like, usually this place is like maybe at best a third full. And this place was packed. People are standing all over the place. I'm either drunk or hungover. Like and I'm not glorifying that. I'm just saying, like, I was still like really hazy. Like, what is going on? Why are these people here? This is just weird. Well, the mass starts, and I'm still clueless about everything that's going on. The priest gets up. It's now time for his homily. And I usually don't pay attention, but I'm like, maybe he's going to explain, like, maybe something's going on this weekend. I don't know what's up. And he gets up there, Father Paul Landerwillen, and he says, hey guys, this is great that you're here. And Father Landerwillen lived to be like 96 years old. Like, he just recently died. It's insane. Anyway, he gets up there to the ambo, and he starts talking. It's so great that everybody's here. Oh man, I love to see this place packed. Isn't this great? Well, you know what? If you're not going to come next week, because it's Easter Sunday, Keith. I had no idea it's Easter Sunday. I didn't know what that meant, by the way. Wow. Because growing up, it was, you got a basket with this creepy looking bunny and you got some candy, right? Mom went to Kroger and got an Easter basket. Nobody ever told me that somebody died on the cross and he rose from the dead. Nobody ever explained that to me, ever. Not even my grandparents, unfortunately. I wish they would have. But here we are. It's Easter Sunday, 1993. I'm a senior in high school. And the priest gets up there and he says, hey guys, thank you for being here. This is totally great. I love that you're here. By the way, if you don't come next week and the week after and the week after that, don't ever bother coming again, ever, because following Jesus Christ isn't just something you do on Easter and Christmas. You do it every day of your life. So that means you go to mass every Sunday. And then he left the ambo. That was his whole homily? His whole homily on Easter was that. Wow. And I remember I had this feeling come over me. Like, I thought I was going to, I was going to literally crawl out of my skin. I felt like I'm going to get sick. I'm going to there's an alien that's going to come out of my stomach. Like, something's happening to me right now. So I get up and I walk outside to get some fresh air. And I'm just thinking to myself, he's talking to me. Like, no, anybody who's ever talked to me has talked to me and been like, hey, you're arrested. Let me read you your rights. Like, let me tell you what's up. And here's this thing. But here's a guy talking to me that wasn't talking to me, right? It was one of those things where it's like, he wasn't speaking just to me. He was talking to all these people, but he was talking to me. And something just started clicking. I told my grandparents, I was like, okay, I want to be Catholic. And they're like, my grandfather's like, when my grandmother wasn't around, because I said this in front of my grandparents that day. We go out to eat after, we'd always go out to eat after mass, and we had breakfast, brunch, whatever. And we got back to their house, and I was like, I want to be Catholic. And my grandma was like, this is great. And then, she goes into the kitchen or something, and my grandfather's like, you don't even know what you're doing. Wow. And I was like, well, yeah, that's true, but I'm going to give it a shot. And he was like, okay, that's okay. So I started going through RCIA. So I graduate from high school, started going through RCIA. But then I go to college out of Indianapolis as a state school called Ball State. And I'm actually confirmed in 94. So I'm Catholic. I don't even remember going to first confession or any of that. It was unfortunately a horrible catechesis. But I went through the motions and did it, and I felt something stirring in me at that point. Now, mind you, I'm still dealing, just not as much. And so fast forward to college, I'm living a double life where I know that God wants me to be a good man, but I'm still doing bad things. And it just happens all through college. I'm leading a double life. I'm making no real progress because I keep falling back to, well, I'm going to hold on to these things that I got to hold on to because it's my little comfort blanket, right? These things they're so important to me.
Were you going to mass though? Like when you
yes.
Okay, I'm Catholic. So
I'm going to mass.
You were still going to mass even when you were in college? Like
yes, I'm going to mass in college. I'm actually and I'm making Catholic friends who are like even trying, but I'm not telling them anything that I'm doing on the side. So I'm not doing it as much but I'm still doing it. I'm still making very, very bad decisions. Have a girlfriend. We get married. We have kids. So we have three kids, and I'm still a complete mess. Out of college, I became a stockbroker and was making great money. I was a stock and bond broker out of college, making great money, but I was still dealing. It wasn't enough. It's never enough. And that's the thing that I've realized in my life. Maybe it's with other people, but for me, whatever it is, it's never enough. Christ is the only thing that is enough.
Amen.
So we'll fast forward through some things. Get into more trouble. I get into more trouble with the law, and make a lot of boneheaded mistakes, and get to the point where I left my wife and had the three kids because I was just a basket case. And I'll always remember, it was horrible timing. I'm kind of an idiot, but I made all these decisions in the wintertime. So I'm living in my car in Indiana in January. Not fun. So I'm living in my car. I lost my job, my big job as a stockbroker, lost that. Sleeping in the Target parking lot in January in my car. And I'm selling advertisements for the Spanish Yellow Pages. I don't speak Spanish. So I've got this horrible job that I'm not good at because I can't get a job because I've burned so many bridges and I've gotten into so much trouble. Wow. And I'm living in my freaking car in January in Indiana. And it's like the coldest January on record for the last 70 years. And I'll never forget, I run into a guy that I went to high school with, and we were friends. And he was a good guy. He was like, "Hey, Tony, like, what's up, man? I heard that, you're not together." And, I was like, yeah. He's like, "Well, where are you staying?" "Well, do you see that car right there? Like that's where I'm staying." He was like, "No, seriously, like, where do you live?" I was like, "No, that's like, I'm living in my car." He was just like, "You got to be kidding me." He's like, "My parents have a garage." Like, and I knew where this guy lived. Like, we were really good friends. And he was like, "Why don't you meet me at my parents' house?" Because he lived right next door to his parents. So I go over there. I see him go talk to his mom and dad. And they know me, and they're good people. And they're like, okay, they're shaking their head up and down. So for the next year and a half, I'm living in a garage. So it's an upgrade from my car.
Like an upstairs garage, like partially finished, or like you're sleeping next to the rakes and the shovels?
Well, I will say this. It wasn't, there was a bathroom and there was a bed.
Was it insulated?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a part that was insulated. So there was a bed, but it was still, yes, if you open the door from this insulated part, it's cars and rakes and whatever's in a garage, but there was a bathroom and there was a bed. And that's where I lived for a year and a half. And I remember, so the big real conversion finally happened one night in that garage, because here I am. So at this point, Keith, I realized I've got to stop doing all my drugs. I've got to stop doing drugs. I've got to stop. I had stopped dealing. I wasn't doing that anymore because it was, I'm always looking over my shoulder and it's a horrible feeling. So I had stopped drinking to get drunk. I had stopped taking drugs, and I'm absolutely miserable. And I remember one night I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, Lord, I know you're there. Like, I know that there's a God, even though I didn't know how to pray. Like, I was just like, I'm just going to plead to God because I know he exists. I do believe he exists. And I'm saying, God, kill me now, because I know committing suicide is a sin. Like, it's not good. So I'm not going to kill myself, but you can. Like, you created all things. Like, you created me. Kill me. I'm begging you, kill me now, because I'm absolutely worthless. There's nothing good that's going to come out of me, period. And I just am bawling and bawling and bawling. And for the first time ever in my life, I'm 33 years old, I hear God speak to me for the first time. Like, I've said prayers before at that point. Many of the prayers have been, all right, got him in jail. Open these gates to the jail cell and let me walk out, because I promise I'll never do this again, right? Just stupid prayers like that. Or please help me not to lose this job because I lied or cheated or did something stupid, right? Because that's all I was doing, was just making stupid bonehead decisions. So I'm in that garage, bawling my eyes out. I have 3 kids and I love them, but I rarely see them because I'm a complete mess of a person. And their mother rightfully has custody of them. But I'm bawling my eyes out, and I'm just like, Lord, kill me now, please. It's going to save a lot of trouble here, right? And for the first time, I heard the Lord speak to me. And he said, Tony, I'm here with you, and I'm never going to leave you, no matter where you go. When you were in the car, I'm with you. When you were doing all the horrible things you were doing the entire time from youth to adulthood, I'm with you. You know, by the way, I was baptized at 6 months old, baptized Catholic at 6 months old, and confirmed in college, right? So and just to kind of give some context, and so I'm listening like mad, because I've never experienced this before. Like, I didn't know how to pray, but I knew that was God. Like, you couldn't, yeah, it was the Lord. And he was telling me, look, you are not doing the bad things. That's a step. You've got to give me 100%. Give me everything. And I promise you will have the peace and joy that you want. And I remember thinking, God, I don't know what 100% means. Like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to give it a shot. Like, I'm going to try. And from there, it was, okay, I'm going to go to Mass. Because I was going to Mass once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks. At that point, I wipe the snot and the tears off of me, and I tell myself, okay, this might take my whole life to figure out how to give 100%, but I'm going to give 100%, whatever that is. Now I realize I'm 50 years old. I still am not giving 100%, and I've got to keep striving towards that. But at that point, Keith, I made kind of this pact with myself, like, Tony, God wants something of. And another thing that I felt like the Lord was saying to me in that garage at that point was, you have a mission and I need you to do this mission. And I'm thinking, what on earth could I do, God? I'm like, I have nothing. I have no skills. I have no credit. I've been bankrupt. I've got a rap sheet. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that is going to accomplish a darn thing for you, God. But something in my heart told me, hey, you actually do have purpose and meaning. So I had this spark in my heart that was like, hey, even though you did all these things and you've made a lot of mistakes and your kids, yeah, you've not got a great relationship with them, you can make something out of this. Give 100%, whatever that means, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Mass every Sunday. And I'm going to, not only am I done taking the drugs, I'm done drinking to get drunk, I'm laser focused on, okay, I'm going to take steps towards holiness, whatever that is. Like, I didn't even know what that meant, but I'm going to take steps towards holiness. And then something crazy happened. I got out of the garage. So my friend's parents, who I was staying in their garage, they were like, hey, we own this property next door. They just bought it. It was somebody else had lived there and they bought the property. And it was just a tiny little house with green carpet. It was a pretty pathetic house, but they bought it and they were like, hey, do you want to live there? And they told me, how much the rent was. And I said, yes, I would love to live there. Like, let's do this. So I moved into this little house next door.
Were you still selling the Spanish advertisements?
No, I had gotten another job. I was always good in sales, although selling something in a language that wasn't your own, that was kind of hard. But I was working now at a software marketing company. And that's when everything really just started to change dramatically, because I had moved into this place owned by my buddy's parents, and started working for this software marketing company. And then I was working like a dog. I was working, I think, 80 to 90 hour weeks because I had nothing else. I would get to see the kids twice a week. And every other night I was working until midnight and then showing up at 6 o'clock in the morning because I was going to outwork anybody in that company. And I started out as a telemarketer. And I got a promotion in 2 weeks, and 3 months from when I started, I was the number 3 guy in the company. This company probably had 120, 150 people. Wow. And the 2 brothers who owned the company made me the director of operations after just a few months because I was working circles around everybody. And they saw that. They were like, this guy's dedicated, he's working hard. But the greatest thing about that job is that I got to meet Allison, who is now my wife. And at that point, Keith, I had sworn off women because I unfortunately had the wrong concept of women. I was objectifying them, and I wasn't looking at a woman as I should see them as a beloved daughter of God. And so my relationships with females weren't what they should have been. So I swore off women. I was like, okay, I can't do drugs. I'm not going to ever date anybody again because all these things that I mess up, I'm just going to get rid of, right? We're not going to do this. And then lo and behold, I meet Allison. And I don't, it's not a joke, but it's kind of funny. I tell Allison, we've now been together for over 17 years. And I told her, I was like, look, the first time I saw you at work, because I was her boss, the first time I saw you, I fell in love with you. And she was just like, kind of creepy, but okay. Like, I'll take that. That's all right. And then, so I was her boss. I asked her out on a date through email. She will joke. But anyway, so we started dating, and at that point I was going to Mass, and I was talking about Catholicism, and she grew up Catholic. And so our second date was going to Mass. And we didn't get it right. Let me just be very clear. Like, we didn't get it right. We moved in together. Like, she moved into the small house with green carpet, and I was divorced and she was single, and we didn't get it right. But I eventually got an annulment, and we were married in the church, and now we have 9 total children. We have 6 more kids after the older 3. And it's one big, beautiful family. Like, the older 3 they've loved the younger kids and Allison like unconditionally. It's been so blessed. And it took a while. It took a while for Allie and I to get it, but I just remember these little things of grace happening. We were together, and I had a crucifix up on the wall that was at my grandparents' house, and they were both dead. So they were Catholic, and my biological father, I had kind of reunited with him, and he had moved back to Indianapolis, and he had now lived in the house that my grandparents had in Indianapolis. And since he wasn't Catholic, I was like, look, can I take these crucifixes and put them in my house? And he was like, yeah, sure, fine, go ahead. And I remember looking at that crucifix in this house that we lived in, and I told Allison, I said, I think we need to pray the rosary. And I said, do you know how to pray the rosary? And she said, well, I did it as a kid a few times, but I have no idea. And I had rosaries from my grandparents. I was like, well, let's figure it out. So we went online, printed something, and we just started praying the rosary.
Wow.
And that was huge, because now the Blessed Mother was like coming in full force, and that really helped us get to a state of grace. So I needed that annulment, got the annulment, got married in the church. And then once we got into that state of grace, Keith, I mean, it was huge. It was huge. I saw this documentary on the original image of the Divine Mercy, and it hit me, and Divine Mercy was like my thing, because if there was anybody in this freaking world that understood mercy, it was me. Like, God was merciful on me, and he didn't have to be, but he was merciful. And I always love the scripture when Jesus is telling the story to the Pharisee, Simon the Pharisee. He goes to his house, and Mary Magdalene shows up, and the Simon the Pharisee is like, well, if this guy was a prophet, he'd know what kind of a gal this was, who was crying on his feet and washing his feet with her hair and whatnot. And he said, Simon, I have a story for you. There were 2 people. They both owed money to this certain person, and one owed 50 or 5, and the other one owed 500. Both were forgiven their debt. Who do you suppose loved more? And Simon the Pharisee said, well, I suppose the one who was forgiven more, right? And the Lord said, you are exactly right. From the moment I walked into your house, you didn't give me something to clean my hands or my feet, and you didn't give me a kiss, but she hasn't ceased washing my feet with her tears and hair, right? And it's just like, yes, Lord, you have forgiven me this massive amount of debt that, like, I was destined for hell. Like, I was going to hell. And nobody had the guts to tell me that. Nobody had the guts to say, hey, pal, guess what? You'd better pack some ice because where you're going, it is super hot. And I just would, talk to Allison about this and say, babe, how great is it that God would stoop down for us? Here we are. We were living in sin, not doing it right. We were contracepting. We were doing all the things, even though we were trying to get in the right direction, but we were clueless. We didn't know. We didn't have all the answers. We had priests telling us, don't worry, you don't have to get married. Just Jesus loves you for who you are. We were literally having kids. We were not married in the church. And we were just like, okay, but deep down we knew right from wrong. So we finally realized no, I've got to get my annulment, and we've got to get married in the church, and we did it, and that grace is there. I mean, I can say without a doubt, I've lived a life of mortal sin, decades of it, and there is a massive difference when you can say, "Look, Lord, I'm nothing, I'm dung, but I'm trying, and I'm giving you my best on a good day." There's a lot of days where I'm not giving you my best, and I'm sorry for that. But Lord, I love you. You know my heart. I love you. I know the debt that you've forgiven me, and I am never going to take that for granted. I'm never going to take that for granted. I tell my kids, all of my children know my story. They know pretty much every detail of my story because I want them to know that your father was destined for hell. But Jesus Christ, he pursued me day in and day out. He pursued me. And
people sometimes get that so backwards. They think that, especially in the world of Catholicism, people think that, Catholicism is just all about what you have to do.
Right.
It's all about what you do, your works, your effort. There's all this emphasis put on that. But what we forget sometimes is we can't do anything without him first pursuing us.
Bingo.
And that might sound like a, Reformed Protestant thing to say, but it's a Catholic thing to say, man. Christ, read the catechism. It's his grace. We can't do anything unless he gives us the grace to do that. And that is him pursuing that. Tony, your mission is so interesting to me because God didn't wait for you to get all that worked out before he said, I have a mission for you.
Yeah. He
came to you and said, I have a mission for you. And then you sort of were like, okay, what do I have to do? And that's so cool because I think there's two responses people can have to that. They can either think, well, I'm so good, I don't need him, or I'm so bad, he wouldn't want me.
Right.
And when he came to you with that mission and then forgave you in that, that story you told about Simon and Mary, I love what Jesus says. He says, he who has been forgiven much loves much.
Yes.
And that is such a powerful thing for people who are struggling with shame.
Yeah.
And struggling with stuff from their past. Because what can happen, and I don't know if this happened to you or not. Maybe it does. I don't know. Do you ever get haunted by that stuff? Does the devil ever throw that stuff back in your face?
All the time. I mean, Keith, that's the thing that we also have to understand is that this is a battle. Jesus Christ is pursuing us, but it's still a battle. And I tell my children, the devil has a personalized plan of attack to separate each and every one of us from God, right? He has that. So all these things, Allie and I talk about this all the time. She's got things in her past that haunt her, and so do I. And the devil's going to bring that up. He knows what buttons to push. And so it's stuff that we have to fight through a lot. But at the end of the day, we know, Lord, we belong to you. We are grafting ourselves to you because you're the vine and you're going to take us to the Father. Nobody else can take us to the Father but you. So for us, it's a realization that it's a battle. It's going on all around us all the time. And we have to recognize that the devil wants nothing more than to separate us from God. And he's going to do everything that he can to do that. Most importantly, because he's the father of lies, he's going to lie to us. Satan is a scatterer. God is a gatherer, right? God gathers in, Satan scatters. Jesus Christ is truth itself, right? He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is truth. Satan is the father of lies. So we have to recognize, I have to recognize that a lot. Those things from the past, Keith, they're always there. And I thought for a moment, Lord, I thought you were going to erase all of this. I thought you were going to be like Men in Black and look at the red dot, ka-chink,
Yeah.
and you're going to take all this away from me. Like, oh, I don't remember. I was just talking to Allison the other day, and I thought she was going to backhand me because I was talking about like, yeah, I can remember, being tired and just, I went to cocaine. Like I was addicted to narcotics. And, and she's like, well, you wouldn't do that now. Like, no, of course not. Like, she's like, hey, every once in a while, I fear that you might want to go back to the old life. I'm like, yeah, no, babe, I get it. You're being lied to because trust me, I ain't going back. So we've got to recognize that we can't erase our memory, but that we can still do that mission that God has for us, right? He's got a will, like God's will for you, Keith. There's things that is going to be similar. Like his will for you and me is similar in that he's got to be our God, no other gods before him, right? Mm-hmm. And we've got to follow the 10 Commandments and the precepts of the church. All of that, it's our will together, but it's not my will to do the specific things that you're doing, right? You better honor your wife. I'm going to honor my wife, right? Those are similar things, but I'm in film. Like I'm a film producer. Like I had no clue that was even a thing, but now here I am doing it because this is what the Lord wants me to do, right?
Yeah. You talked about the devil's plan for us, and it always surprised me. I think people don't give him, it's weird. People don't give him enough credit, but they also give him too much credit at the same time.
For sure.
Yeah, you might say, well, what do you mean? They don't give him enough credit from the standpoint that sometimes I think people just think the devil just wants you to sin. It's like, oh, well, if he can get you to sin, that's his goal.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, he doesn't. That is too low bar for the devil. He doesn't. He probably doesn't even have to try very hard to get us to sin. No. We're just going to do it.
Right.
His goal is to destroy you by taking you away from the Father. He wants to convince you that the gospel isn't for you, that you're too far gone, or that you're too good. One of those things. So he's either gonna play on that part of you that feels like, oh, I got this, God. I don't need you. And there's a character in a Flannery O'Connor novel who made this famous statement. Said they thought that by avoiding sin they could avoid Jesus. Okay, so and I didn't read that. I heard Tim Keller say that. So I'm not trying to come off as some big book scholar, but when he preached that sermon, I was like, wow, how many people have done that. We've met those people who think to themselves, well, I don't need Jesus. I'm a good person.
Yes.
I don't do those bad things that Tony did.
Right.
I didn't do whatever. Yeah. So they aren't going to mass, not because they're full of shame, but because they think that they're already a good person. So that's one ditch. The other ditch is to say, oh man, I'm so bad that God could never forgive me. God could never love me. And I think that Satan tailors his plan based on what we are, what's going on in our lives, what our 100%. Past looks like, or what we're
100%.
And his goal ultimately is to take you down that road that is away from God. He doesn't care which way he takes you. He just wants you away from him.
Right. And and the church teaches us that the demons they know our thoughts. And that's why these negative thoughts, these tempting thoughts, they get planted into our head. And I had a great confessor for many years who's a Catholic moral theologian, because I would come in and confess like, well, Father, I had this thought. And he was like, okay, well, what did you do with it? Well, I immediately cast it out. It's like, okay, not a sin. It's like, you understand, this is what's going to happen. You're a male. Like you're a heterosexual. You're going to be tempted, period. Like this is going to happen. So you need to be able to fight that. Like, how blessed are you that you have a beautiful wife and you love her and you want to be with her? Don't mess that up. So part part of what Allie and I get frustrated with is, why didn't anybody tell us these things as we were trying to, we were trying to grow in our faith, but we got watered down nonsense, even from priests.
Is that one of the reasons why you're so passionate about teaching the Catholic faith? Because the reality is, through your films that you guys do, you're teaching the faith. I mean,
yes,
and we'll get into that. Yep. But I wonder, is that part of what drives you, because you didn't have that?
Yes, it does.
That knowledge.
I think so. I want to win. My whole life I've wanted to win. Okay, and I've done a great job at that. Unfortunately, I was winning for me most of the time. Like, I wanted to make this much amount of money by the time I was this age, and okay, well, I already surpassed that, so let's do something else. Now I realize, like, Lord, I want to win for you. Whatever that is, I want to win for you. So if that means you zero out my bank account, I don't deserve it. If that means I don't get the thing that I want to get, or this situation doesn't go the way that I want it to go, so be it. And I've been, oh man, the Lord has humbled me so much in the past few years, Keith, because Allison and I started our own software company because we had to, because of my past. I had burned so many bridges.
You couldn't work for somebody else. You had to go do your own thing.
I had to do my own thing. So I was an independent contractor selling software, and I realized I can make this better. So I told Allie, I was like, hey, I'm going to start my own software company, and she, that was a funny story. But so we had to sell the house, we had to get capital, we had to get money, and we did it, and it worked. Like, we started our own software company, and we made some money. And I thought, oh man, God, it's a good thing I'm here, because I don't know if anybody else could have done this better than me. Me. I did this. I built this company, blah, 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 blah. And to be fair, we didn't have any help. Mommy and Daddy didn't give me a dime. We didn't go out and get a loan. We didn't get any investors. We did it all on our own. But God did it all. And I was putting me in that driver's seat, like, well, I did all these things, and I did that, and I look at that extra zero in my bank account. And the Lord humbled me, and I had some business dealings where it's like, oh yeah, okay. And I'm not saying the Lord is like, oh, I'm going to stick it to you, but I had to eat crow in some situations where it's like, okay, yeah, that deal. Yeah, I lost money in that deal. Yeah, I'm down a lot of money in this thing or that thing. And I bought at X and I sold it 30% minus X. So I lost money here. And at the end of the day, that has no bearing on my salvation. It's what am I doing with what God has given me? And that's where for Allison and me, it's okay. We're donors to Mass of the Ages, and we'll give to those who Catholic artists who have a need or something, and that's what's exciting about the mission that God has us on. That I would have had no idea that this is what I'd be doing at 50 years of age, but yeah, that passion is there because I want to win for Him. He did everything for me, everything. Like, He thought of me on the cross, and I did all these things that were, first of all, wrong, immoral. I was using His name in vain. All these things that were horrible, I was doing it. And even when I was Catholic, I was not receiving Him worthily. I wasn't going to confession. And yet He still emptied Himself out for me. He thought of Keith Nestor on the cross. He thought of Tony Schreiner on the cross. That's what I tell my kids, guys, look at that. Look at Him on the cross. Look how beautiful He is. We have to give Him everything we have. So knowing that, I can't do it on my own. Like when I read that scripture, you can do nothing without me. Like, Lord, do you know I know this, Lord. Like, but with Him, all things are possible. Like, that's it. I'm hitching my wagon to that. I will take a bullet because I know for a fact that Jesus Christ is wholly and substantially present, body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Eucharist. You can't tell me otherwise. I don't care who you are. I'm going to die for that. I'm passionate about that because he didn't have to do that, Keith. He could have been like, well, I gave you literally 45-second chances, pal, and you're still a knucklehead. Enjoy hell. Like, he's the creator. He has sovereign rights over us. He can do whatever he wants. But when you talk about an infinite abyss of mercy, come on. I will bow down to him all the time because he alone is worthy, not me. How
did you come to that place with the divine mercy image? You mentioned that earlier, and then you just said that something that.
Well,
that's interesting.
Having my past and knowing how much God, it's one of those things where it's like I feel, especially after being in a state of grace, I felt the Lord and hear him saying this to me in prayer time, like, you are a special chosen soul, and you have this mission. He's been saying this to me for years. Like, there's a mission that I have for you. I thought it was starting a software company, right? I was like, oh yeah, you want me to start this software company because I'm so smart and I'm going to make some money and donate it, which we did, but that wasn't it. He was like, walk away from it. Walk away. He says, it's time to walk away from your software company. And I was like, Lord, our P&L is ridiculous right now. Like, we are printing money in this tiny little software company. Like, I'm making more money than I thought I could ever make. Legally. I'm loving it. Anyway, he said, walk away from it. So we did. We walked away from it. We sold majority ownership of the software company and made a couple dollars. Didn't make a ton of money, but we made a couple dollars. So for me, the Divine Mercy, it was something that I stumbled upon. I watched this documentary, and then I wrote a book. I wrote a book on Divine Mercy. Don't let me forget, I brought you a copy.
I didn't know you wrote a book.
Yeah, I brought you a copy. Sorry.
Nice.
So I wrote a book. It's got an imprimatur. So it may not be the best book in the world, but it's free of moral and doctrinal error. Sweet. So it's got an imprimatur. And I got connected with Divine Mercy because the authentic image of Divine Mercy, which hangs in Vilnius, Lithuania, a lot of people connotate Divine Mercy with Krakow, Poland, where the shrine is, the shrine of Divine Mercy.
I've been there. I'm not, yeah.
That's not where the authentic image is. So the image that St. Faustina had painted is in Vilnius, Lithuania. I've been there. It's awesome. And so wrote a book and about Divine Mercy. But yeah, the image, this documentary that I saw, it caught my attention. It was a very well done documentary, good grief, at least a decade ago. And I just, seeing our Lord in that authentic image, which I do write in my book that it does matter which image you venerate, because he clearly says to St. Faustina, if you venerate this image, I will protect you at the hour of death against enemies here and on earth. So I've read St. Faustina's diary front to back 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Because it's not a story. It's like, whoo, okay, I read that and okay, I'm gonna have to put it down and then pick it up again because it's just
it's heavy.
It's heavy, and she's a saint, and it's unbelievable. So I've read that many times. I need to pick it up again because it's been a while. But yeah, for me, Keith, it's like, look, when St. Faustina writes in her diary about this infinite abyss of mercy, and I'm literally the poster child of that. Like, I've lived it. It's one thing for her who, she was a saint, like she was phenomenal. And the Lord's telling her these things and she believes them.
Yeah.
She writes about these things, but here I am. And she wrote this diary in the 30s, she's, here we are, it's almost 100 years later. And I can say, I've lived these things out, Lord. I've experienced your infinite abyss of mercy, and I know I don't want to do that again. Like I want to make up for my wrongs, and I want to do penance, and I want to do good. And even though your abyss of mercy is infinite, use it on somebody else. Like I need to get my act together and keep it together, right? So for me, mercy is something that I hold dear, and it's in this world that I'm in with Mass of the Ages and traditional Catholics. I think sometimes it's frustrating because for people who are cradle Catholics and they follow the rules and they do everything right and they haven't lived in mortal sin, and a lot of times, I've had conversations with people, and this is not a blanket statement on trads, but it's just like, well, this, that, or the other, something to the effect of, St. Faustina, she wrote this in her diary too. And it's like, wait, what? Like you don't believe in mercy? Like you don't want mercy just because you haven't, just because your debt was 5, you still need it. For us, it was 500. It was like, yeah, we totally need it. And I acknowledge that. And I think that's a hard thing when I talk to people who are great people and they're like, yeah, I've just always followed the rules and I've always stayed on the course. It's like, yeah, that's got to be tough for you because you don't see it through my eyes. Like I've seen hell in a sense of like I was going down that path to the point where I was like, Lord, just kill me. Just do it because I'm living hell on earth. And so I love Divine Mercy. I love the story of Divine Mercy, especially with St. Faustina's diary. I love the authentic image, which hangs in Vilnius, Lithuania, because there's graces there. And I've experienced those graces. And I have that image all over our house. Every room has an image of Divine Mercy. All the bedrooms, every room has one. So yeah, it's a big thing for me.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool when you meet people that have these devotions and they're connected to their personal journey.
For sure.
They're not just like, oh yeah, I read a book on that. It was cool. I mean, I've got a few of those. I like that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
But when you can hear a story behind someone's journey,
right,
or that's part of their journey and it's connected to them, you just go, man, our faith is so amazing. There's so many things about it's not just this stale,
right,
lame ritualistic thing that we just sort of, the way that Catholicism is often portrayed by people who aren't Catholic or people who are, I went to Catholic school or whatever, they're just missing out.
They are missing out. Yeah. And I think that's, it's sad. I think about this a lot. I've been talking to the kids about this a lot. So we read, Allison and I read Divine Intimacy every day, every morning before our prayer time. It's written by Father Gabriel of St. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi in the 50s. He wrote this in the 50s. It's got an imprimatur. And Divine Intimacy, and it's a daily thing. And it follows the old calendar, but it's still, anybody, even if somebody doesn't go to the old Mass, you should read Divine Intimacy. And one of the things, and it goes 365 days a year. And he's even got writings for the immovable feasts. So recently, Father Gabriel, he wrote about, he's dead. He should be a doctor of the church. Maybe the Vatican will watch this video and make him a doctor of the church. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know if they're watching my videos.
Pope Leo should
If you're from the Vatican and you're watching my videos, leave a comment.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Like and subscribe.
Oh man, that's good. He's been writing about the humanity of Jesus and how great is it as Catholics that through the Eucharist, like God exists everywhere, but Jesus Christ, that's different. The Son, the Word, he's in heaven, right? But he's here on earth through the Eucharist. So if I'm a Protestant and I read John chapter 6 like it's a metaphor, this is like my body. This is like my blood. If I've been lied to, because the Protestants are lying to themselves, right? You were lied to when you were told as a Protestant pastor, it's not actually not really his body blood that he's talking about in John chapter 6.
It's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor.
Yeah.
Right? It's a lie, right? And that's how Satan works. He lies to us all day long. He doesn't care who we are. He lies to the Buddhists. He lies to the Christians. He lies to all of us. But how great is it as Catholics that we have him in the Eucharist? We can consume him as food and be nourished, but we also get to adore him in the Eucharist, right? When he's in the tabernacle or in a monstrance. And I tell that to the kids, like, guys, let's go to adoration. and be close to his humanity, because we get this, right? I mean, how blessed is it that God would take that veil off of our eyes, because that veil exists for Protestants today. And so my prayer is for anybody who's, man, not really thinking about converting to Catholicism. Do it now and get close to the humanity of Jesus Christ, which is in the Eucharist.
Yeah. You mentioned something. First of all, I was going to ask you this, but I don't think I need to. Was there ever a moment in your living in the garage, living in your car phase where you're trying to figure out to get right with God, where you thought about becoming a Protestant, or you thought, I need to just maybe Catholicism isn't really everything and I should do that? Did you ever consider not being Catholic?
That's a great question. No, probably because maybe God protected me from the Protestant hitmen and I've talked to them before. Like, I remember talking to people like, hey, you need to come. I did in college. Like, I remember going to I don't even know what it was, a Protestant worship service or something. But no, I think I was so out of it that I was just like, well, I don't even know if I considered myself Catholic. I would tell somebody I was Catholic, but I knew I wasn't going to. It wasn't until I was actually like, okay, I'm going to go to Mass every Sunday. Then I started feeling like a Catholic. Yeah. Then I started and then when I started learning, like, wait, oh my goodness, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. So for me, it was, no, I was never tempted to walk away from Catholicism. I was always just drawn to it in a deeper sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when you talked about we get to go to adoration, we get to do all these things, it reminds me of a time right after I first became Catholic, maybe a year or so after, and I gave a talk at a church someplace, telling my story, and this guy comes up to me afterwards, and he's like, I got a question for you. I'm like, okay. You never know what's going to be next.
Right.
He goes, I was raised Catholic, which honestly had nothing to do with his question, but he just wanted to. Sometimes people just give you that. Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, you can't tell me anything. But
right.
Well, I was raised Catholic. And then he goes, why would you want to confess your sins to a priest? He's just a man when you can go to God directly. Why would you want to do that? And I just said to him, are you kidding me? It's why wouldn't you want to? Yeah. That's what I told him. I said, why wouldn't you want to do that? He's not just a man. He's been given authority by God to forgive your sins. Where's that in the Bible? I'm like, John 20:23. Look it up right now. And I even said to him, I said, I thought you said you were Catholic, or you used to be Catholic. You should know this.
Yeah.
We get to do this.
That's right.
This isn't a have to. This is a get to. Because when you experience that grace and the sacraments and what Christ has done for you, it's that all of it is part of that pursuit, Tony.
Yeah.
And that doesn't stop when you finally get your stuff in the right order.
Right.
It's a daily thing. Yeah. Christ is pursuing us every single moment of every single day.
Yes.
And he's pursuing us because he loves us. That's the thing. 100%. He's not pursuing you because he wants to get you or he wants to like expose you. He's pursuing you out of love. We love him because he first loved us. Mm. And in the Eucharist, we receive that love in such a powerful, personal way.
Yes.
And when people are like, oh, well, you're supposed to have, it's not about a religion. It's about a personal relationship. Right. I'm like, whoa, hold on a minute. You don't know anything about a personal relationship until you have eaten God.
That's right.
Until he has physically come into you through the Eucharist. There is nothing more personal than that. When we go to adoration, we go to our holy hour. My wife and I do this every single week, and our daughter-in-law is with us now. It's like, whatever you have going on, you walk in there and it's like, oh man, what a grace, what a gift.
Every time.
And
every time.
You just, our hearts just yearn. This is why you do what you do, is what I do, what I do. We want to share that beauty with the world. We want to share that with people who don't know anything about the Catholic Church, and want to share it with Catholics who've been sitting in church, but they've never heard it.
I know. And
or they've ignored it, I should say. They've heard it. They just probably haven't listened.
That's part of what gets me out of bed every day, is this mission that God has us on, Cameron and me, Lucas, other people on the team, John, Jen, Emily, there's many people. Keith, this is when the church in America is dying. For every 100 Catholics that join the church, 840 leave.
Wow.
For every, and this is a Pew study. This isn't somebody trying to like be mean. This is like, hey, independent research. This is what's up. For every 100 Catholics that join the church, 840 leave. Why did they leave? Well, if they truly believed that Jesus Christ was wholly and substantially present in the Eucharist, body, blood, soul, and divinity, they wouldn't leave. They haven't been properly taught, right? They haven't had that connection. They don't understand tradition. So that in and of itself is horrendous, right? You can have all the ministries that you want. Your parish can be doing these things. The Knights of Columbus can be doing those things. Your Rosary group can be doing those things, but it's all kind of inside of this thing, the same people. What I love about what you're doing is you're putting this stuff out there so that anybody can hear it. Like you could be like Bert and Ernie. They could just be like, I don't know what this guy, I'm going to click on this video and listen to it, right? They could have been like me, baptized Catholic, but at 18 years of age did not know what the resurrection of Jesus Christ meant.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's why you do what you do. That's why I do what I do, because number one, I want to bring those 840 back, and then we got to go get the other 7 billion. You know what I mean? We got to convert them because there's 1.3 billion Catholics in this world, and only 25% of them go to Mass on a regular basis. And of those, only 63% believe in the real presence. We have a lot of work cut out for us.
We do.
That's why we have to be making media that's deeply faithful and highly artistic. That's why Reclaim Films exists.
So let's talk about this mission. First of all, for people who don't know what Mass of the Ages is.
Yes, okay.
Mass of the Ages is an incredible film series done about the traditional Latin Mass that came out, what was it, 2022 or something like that?
Wow, I should know these things, Keith. So 2021, 2023, 24. There's 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just the CEO. Like, I should know these things. Anyway, Mass of the Ages is a nonprofit, and the nonprofit, and we have made 3 documentaries on the traditional Latin Mass. Cameron O'Hearn is the founder of Mass of the Ages. He is a brilliant Catholic artist, and it's his thing.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, we go to Latin Mass. We've been going to Latin Mass for many years now, almost probably a year after we became Catholic, we started doing that. And, you know, I don't consider myself some kind of rad trad person. I mean, I go to the Novus Ordo too. It's like for a daily Mass or
yes.
I'm not like, but we love the Latin Mass.
Right.
And I tell you what, first of all, those films are unbelievably well made. The quality of them it's moving with just the stories of the people. And I mean, even if you don't go to the Latin Mass, just watch that movie. It's like, it's beautiful about Catholicism and your faith. But I learned so much about that.
Yeah.
You know, it just enhanced so many things for me. So that's how I got to know about your work was through that. But how did you get involved with that? Because you came along a little bit later.
No, I did. I came along later. I'm just riding the wave of all the work that they did. So I started going to the old Mass, and then somebody sent me episode 1, the first video, the first documentary, and I watched it, and I was like, wait a second, this is Catholic, and it actually rocks. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
And so that caught my eye, and then the depth of it. And I thought to myself, okay, there's something here. I had reached out, I made a comment about the website, and I think Cameron emailed me back and was like, hey, and then I was like, hey, I want to donate. And he was like, great. He says, well, where do you live? I'm like, I live in Indianapolis. He said, well, we're premiering episode 2 in Chicago. Why don't you come and check it out and we can meet and talk? And this was right before Allie and I sold majority ownership in our software company, which again, that sounds really big and massive, but it was a great thing. But it wasn't massive amounts of money. I wish it was, but it was still, we made a couple dollars. So I went in knowing like, I'm going to donate to this thing because this is amazing. I watched episode 2 in the theaters. I had gone in with like a dollar amount, like, okay, Lord, I think we should donate X. And then I watched it.
You're like, oh.
And then I'm like,
10X the
donation. I'm going to give more than that. I remember telling Allison, I was like, babe, this was even better than the first one. And we need to donate. Like we need to do something that we've never done before. Like we had, like when we made donations, it was like, we gave $100. And for some people, that's a lot of money. And we were in a position to do more than that. So we donated, and Cameron kept asking me business questions because I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business guy, and he's an artist, a brilliant artist, amazing Catholic artist. So he would contact me and say, hey, what about this business thing? What would you do? And I'm like, well, you need, and I would send him a message back or we would talk on the phone or whatever. And then finally he was like, would you just be on the board of directors and help with this? And I'm like, oh, I'm honored. Yeah, I'll be on the board of directors. So I got to be on the board of directors and then helping more. And then episode 3 is released. And then right after that, he shows up at my house and says, hey, I can't be the CEO anymore. I'm an artist. I need to be an artist. And I could tell it was really hard on him to be in the business driver's seat. And by the way, Cameron O'Hearn is highly intelligent. He had his own production company. Like he was already doing it, but it obviously wasn't his cup of tea. Like he can do it. He can make amazing decisions, but he was just like, look, this is a lot. And it's hard to be an artist and run the business. I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. I was like, yeah, you should totally go and find yourself a CEO. Do that. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm asking you. I want you to be the CEO. And I was just like, what? I was like, no, you do not want that because here's why. And I was like, this is why you don't want that. And he was like, I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about that. And then I was like, fine. Because I had this period of like a year and a half, 2 years after we had sold the software company, and we still had minority ownership, but I was just on the board, and it's a small company. It's not that big of a deal. I wasn't really doing much, and I was about to start another company. And then this came along, and it was like, yes, Lord, this is where you want me. But here's what's crazy about all of that. So here we are. I'm the CEO of Mass of the Ages, working now on the many different things that Mass of the Ages does. So the documentaries are huge. 3 documentaries are on YouTube, 12 million plus views just on those.
They're amazing.
Just on those. And we've got tens of millions of views on all of our media across all the platforms. But we're also training priests. So we have something called Latin Mass University, training priests who don't know how to celebrate the old Mass. And it takes them step by step, 22 videos, step by step. And we literally have thousands of people. Anybody can sign up, by the way. You can sign up for Latin Mass University. It's completely free.
Get out of here. I didn't know that.
You can. Yeah, absolutely. You don't have the faculties. Like I'm signed up. We don't have the faculties to do it.
Obviously, but
you can still learn it.
Yeah, it's the knowledge of every
right. It's totally
thing.
cool.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
You know the rubrics. You know why they're doing it because there's an explanation. Like, oh, that's pretty awesome. I didn't know why. Like that's a lot of signs of the cross that guy, that the priest just did there. Anyway, so we have Latin Mass University. We're the only lay apostolate in the world, Keith, that's training priests to celebrate the old Mass. So that in and of itself is huge, and that is kind of that's the big thing that Mass of the Ages is doing.
Where else do priests go to learn that?
They can't. I mean, that's the thing is you would have to you'd have to be in the fraternity of you have to be an FSSP priest or seminarian. You would be a seminarian, or the Society of St. Pius X, right? So SSPX, FSSP, Institute of Christ the King. You'd have to be in that world. There might be some things on YouTube, but if
I need to ask our priest that, because I know he learned it for us, and I can't remember if he was teaching another person, but it just made me think about like where does like a diocesan priest who wants to learn Latin, because they're not trained in that in seminary.
Right. Forgive me, I shouldn't say that we're the only place that can do that. We like as far as watching media that takes you step by step.
Right.
We are the only ones that do that. We're the only lay apostolate that does that.
Yeah.
You can like two guys like Father Bert and Father Ernie. They can get together. One can know how to do the old mass, and he can teach the other.
But I just mean like as far as like an organized system, way to learn it. That's what
this
you
is
guys
it.
have. That's
right.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we've actually had 2 bishops that have completed that course.
Wow,
and they love it.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, they love it. So, at any rate, we've trained hundreds of.
I bet that wasn't cheap to create all that stuff.
Super expensive.
Yeah,
that's the thing about when you make media at this caliber, it's way more expensive than even I thought, and I think things are pretty expensive. Like I built a company. I've spent millions of dollars. I've made millions, but it's like one of those things. You have to spend money to make money. But as a nonprofit, the money is so helpful because yes, the trilogy has been made, is what we call it, the 3 documentaries, but we want to advertise those. So we want more people to watch them, but we want to be able to train more priests. So that is a huge thing. And so, but we are a registered 501c3 nonprofit. So any donations,
donate to that.
Donate to Mass of the Ages, latinmass.com. That is Mass of the Ages. So I got in, CEO, then an idea was pitched to me about Discover Tradition. And I was like, yes, let's do this.
Dude, I'm telling you what right now. I mean, I love that. We had Austin here and everything. That's like probably one of my favorite things I've seen in the last 5 years. To me, that just makes my heart beat faster. That kind of stuff. Because I love being Catholic so much, and when we've gone on these pilgrimages around the world, you see these things like in Poland, Our Lady of Czestochowa. You see these different things. You're like, where does this come from, and how do people? Like, it feels like in America we don't have that kind of cool old traditional stuff. You know what I mean?
No, because we're only 250 years old.
Exactly. So
we can't.
When you go across and I'm not bashing America. I'm just
saying, I get
like,
it.
That's the point.
It. Yeah.
But when you go in the world and you see these things, as an American Catholic who's a convert,
yes,
I love the part in Discover Tradition when I can't remember who said it to Austin, but they said these are your traditions too.
That's right. Martha.
And to me that just rings so true. And I want to learn more and more about things like that.
Yes.
So I pray that you guys can keep making more of those episodes. So everybody go to Discover Tradition.
discovertradition.org
and donate.
Yes. Let's get another one going, man.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to be a part of that as far as just a donor,
Let's do it.
So anyway,
yeah.
Thank you for making that. That was awesome.
Thank you. Our team. Our team is ridiculous. They're the artists, and I'm so blessed to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
What else have you guys got going on?
Yes.
Because I know that you've got Reclaim Films, which is different than Mass of the Ages.
Yes. So that's the thing that is, it's crazy, but it's also when you know how you look back and you're like, okay, Lord, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
You're taking me on this journey for a reason. And what I thought was going to be the thing isn't going to be the thing. So, it's like, oh, okay, you are in charge. I'm sorry that I even tried to make a plan. Why do I make that many plans? Like, I love it when people talk about, let's make a 10-year plan. Go right ahead.
I never hear that in the Catholic Church. Because people know, they're like, you don't do that.
Well, in business, it's a huge thing. Like, let's make a 10-year plan and a 5-year plan. Like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I've done that.
Yeah. It never goes the way you think it is. Cameron, Cameron O'Hearn, founder of Mass of the Ages, he's a writer. He's a director. And he's wildly talented. He's written multiple scripts. He wrote a narrative film script called Godbread. And this narrative film that he wrote is about 3 saints. So it's an anthology. It's 3 stories put together into one feature-length film.
So when you say narrative, just for people to help people understand what that means.
Yeah, so narrative means actors, actresses on a set. on different locations. Okay, so a documentary, okay, we're typically either in one place, we could be in multiple places, but a documentary is we're educating you, it's real life, real time. A narrative film is, hey, we're doing a film on these three saints, the Blessed Virgin Mary, so we're going to first century Palestine, Saint Margaret Mary Alacoque, we're going to 17th century France, and Little Lee, so we're going to 1950s China. Now, we don't have a DeLorean, so we don't have a time machine, so we're not literally going back. So we've got to create a set, right? So we're going to create a set with actors and actresses. So God Bread is a narrative film, and it is all about how the Eucharist affected these three saints, these three women.
So does it have like a narrator that's explaining things, or is it like you're watching these dramatic presentations?
You're watching a movie. Okay, this is a legit movie.
And do these three stories intersect at all, or is it kind of like the theme of the Eucharist and they're woven all together through that?
Oh, the latter. It's the latter. Yeah. It's not as if you can say we just saw because the stories. I mean, Keith, I was telling you this earlier. I read the script, and I'm a freak of nature. I've got way too much energy, which is a good thing, but I stand up all the time. I have a stand-up desk, and I'm reading the script. Cameron's like, Tony, print this out and read this. And I'm reading the script for the first time. And I read the script, and I literally fall on my knees crying as I'm reading the script, crying in a way that's just like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. This is in our DNA. We're Catholic. This has to get done. Like Cameron's ability to write sometimes upsets me because it's like, why are you so good at this and I can't? Which is great though, but it's beautiful. So God Bread is this film, and we're trying to do that through Mass of the Ages. What we realized, both of us realized at the same time, we couldn't raise enough donations. It wasn't working. So what we then decided to do was, we're going to create a for-profit studio, and we're going to get people to invest, just like you notice with many Catholic films that are out there, Triumph of the Heart or Cabrini or whatever the case may be, right? There's all kinds of different Catholic films that are out there. So we get people to invest into the film, and we hopefully give them their money back and give them a rate of return, right? And split the profits, because that's what happens with the studio. So we've created this studio called Reclaim Films. And Reclaim Films is a studio, and we're going to make God Bread. But the cool thing about this, Keith, is that this is just one part of the story. As Cameron and I and our business partner, Lucas Diaz, who is such an amazing man, the three of us in our journey together realized we're not just trying to make a film. We're not going to just start a studio. We realized we want to move the world to Christ by building a Christocentric film industry. An industry. So we're not going to just make a film. We're not going to just create a studio. We're going to create an entirely new industry. Hollywood is broken, and we don't want to fix it. So we need a new Hollywood, and that's exactly what we're doing. And we are jacked up about this. So that industry that we're speaking of, this Christocentric film industry that we're building, has three pillars. The first pillar is the audience. So we're going to, and we're not going to have time to go into this. So I'm just gonna paint this picture, and then we're going to move on. The audience. So we're going to eventually build an app so that anybody can go to that app and get the most reliable movie ratings for any film that's ever been made within reason. And we're going to start small because we're building this app from scratch. And in order to do that, we're writing something called the Gabriel Code. And it is similar to the Hays Code that was written in 1930, but we're going to be heavily influenced by church teachings, namely 2 encyclicals and an apostolic exhortation that were written about motion picture.
What's the Hays Code for people who don't?
For people who don't know the Hays Code was written in 1930 by a Catholic priest and a Catholic layperson. They wrote the Hays Code in response to Hollywood in the Roaring '20s. Hollywood was a complete clustercuss. They were putting out their films in the 20s, massive nudity, adultery, divorce, violence. It was horrible. It was really, really bad. And these guys got fed up with it. So they wrote the Hays Code saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you should do this, you should do that. And they went to Hollywood and said, here you go. And what did Hollywood do? They laughed in their face. They were like, you got to be kidding me. We're doing just fine. Go fly a kite. Well, the Hays Code trickled out. And by 1934, the Archbishop of Cincinnati, Archbishop Nicholas, he started the Catholic Legion of Decency, which he got some other brother bishops, and they told their flock to take a pledge to not spend any more money at the theaters, because that's the only place that Hollywood was making money, right? It was the theaters. Hey, you're gonna go watch this movie. We're gonna make money. And the Catholic Legion of Decency said, Catholics, take this pledge. Don't give Hollywood your money if they're going to be making filth. And it worked. 7 million Catholics took that pledge. So Hollywood said, oh my, now we're going to listen to you. And the Hays Code was what was used before any movie was distributed. It had to adhere to the Hays Code. And that's what ushered in the golden age of Hollywood. For old guys like you and me, we were like, yeah, I've heard of the golden age of Hollywood. Basically from 36 until 66, all these great movies that have stood the test of time were made, right? So that's what the Hays Code is. We are taking basically some of the bones of that, but we're writing something called the Gabriel Code after the Archangel St. Gabriel. And we're heavily influenced by these three church documents, Vigilante Cura, which is an encyclical written by Pope Pius XI in 1936, an apostolic exhortation written by Pope Pius XII in 1955 called The Ideal Film, where the Holy Father sets out, here are ratings that you should have for film. And what he said was good, dangerous, harmful. Because these popes have made it clear, motion picture is so powerful that it truly transports us into another time. It takes us into that place. It can lift up a society in a good way, or it can degrade a society in a bad way. A film can do that. So that's what these popes have written. And then Pope Pius XII wrote an encyclical in 57 called Miranda Prorsus. So Cameron and I are scouring through these documents, and we're working with Catholic moral theologians. We have a board of theological advisors. So we're going to, with their help, write the Gabriel Code, get an imprimatur so that it's free of any moral or doctrinal error. And the Gabriel Code, that will be the bones of this app. It will be the Catholic moral principles that the app will be based on, so that you can look at a movie and know, hey, this movie uses the name of our Lord in vain. We are going to either cut that out with a tech filter, or we're not going to watch it at all. So the audience, we have to build something that helps them, but it also engages them, and they want to see deeply faithful and highly artistic films, and we can make them. So one pillar is the audience. The next pillar is the studio, and we're going to make film. But we're not going to be the only studio in town that's going to make film. We want other studios to make deeply faithful and highly artistic films. And we want them to vet their script through the Gabriel Code so that they can, so that we can basically sign off on it. And all the people in our app will be able to know about this new film that's coming out. And they have a built-in audience waiting for that amazing film that they've just made, right?
That's awesome.
So you've got the audience, you've got the studio, and then you've got the film school. Right? We want to scale this thing. Cameron O'Hearn is an amazing director and writer, but he can't do it all on his own. I'd love for him to do it, to try it, but I got to be reasonable. So we have to find other Cameron O'Hearns, and they're out there, and they're hungry, and they're young, and they want this. So we're going to start a film school, unlike anything that's ever been done, because we're going to get them on set immediately. So they're going to be on set for God Bread. They're going to be on set for the other films that we're going to produce that Cameron's already written scripts on. So the film school is going to be amazing, because we're going to be able to 10x, 50x this thing, because these young men and women who want to be in film, we're going to train them properly, get them on set, so that when they're done, they're going to go out and have already made short films themselves as a part of the film school. So that is Reclaim Film. That is the Christocentric film industry that's going to move the world to Christ.
That's a big vision. That's a big mission. I think I hear that and I just go, wow. I wonder who else is out there right now that's sitting in their, garage that the Lord is tapping on their shoulder saying, I've got a mission for you.
Yes.
And maybe it's even something that people watching this interview, maybe somebody sees this. This is exactly what I've been looking for.
Yes.
What do I do? Like, how do people get connected with you guys to be a part of this?
100%. There's so many things, right? All of those buckets we need help with, right? So no matter who you are or what you're doing, if you feel God is calling you, then go to reclaimfilm.com.
You guys already have a website.
We have a website.
Nice.
Yep. Reclaimfilms.com. We have it singular and plural, but reclaimfilms.com. Jen's going to kill me. She does all of our operations and back-end stuff. But you can also, through there, go to the website, contact us, and just say, hey, I saw the video, I want to help, or I've got this, I've got this question, whatever. Bring it on. So that is, that's the mission, right? That's the mission, and we're probably crazy, but this is what the Lord wants to do. We have to reclaim film for Christ. It's His by His nature, right? By His very nature, everything belongs to Him. And Hollywood has messed us up for long enough, and we can't go in and fix them, so we're going to make a new Hollywood.
I feel like there have been iterations of people that have tried to do stuff like this over the years, not to the scale that you're talking about, but I remember when I was, back in the pastor days, there was that church in Georgia that was making all the, Remember the Titans and Courageous and all the, that evangelical that was making all these films, and God bless them.
Yeah.
They were super cheesy. You know what I mean? It's
exactly.
Like I'm so excited to see good Catholic films that honor the faith and teach the faith, but aren't, goofy and cheesy in the way they do it.
That's part of that's one of the things that's driving us. And that's how we look at it. You typically see a Catholic film as one or the other. It's deeply faithful. Like, wow, they nailed it. Like, they are nailing the faith, but it is not highly artistic. It looks janky, right?
Yeah.
Or you see the other way around. Like, oh, that film was super well done. Wow, look at them. They got that actor. They have those sets.
Yeah.
But man, they just missed the mark on being deeply faithful. We're going to do both. We're going to have deeply faithful and highly artistic film. And we're not going to be the only ones that are going to benefit from this. There are other studios out there, other individuals out there who have their own scripts and they want to do this, and our work will help them. And so this isn't hey, we're going to do this thing, everybody else go fly a kite. No, we're going to do this, and this is the tide that raises all boats.
Well, you mentioned that Triumph of the Heart. That I thought that was excellent.
I have not yet seen it, and I need to go. I need to see it. I don't know. I don't know how to see it, so I need to figure out how to see it.
It's both of those things. It's faithful and it's excellent. I think you'd love it. You need to get connected with that. I think you really like that. But I mean, of course, when I think about the pinnacle of all Catholic films that have done that, I mean, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I mean, The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
I wasn't even Catholic when that movie came out, but like, can you top that? I don't know. I mean,
I'm okay if you can't. Like, I'm okay, but you got to have something to shoot for. And I think that's what we talk about that internally. Like, look, when it comes to the app and how we're going to rate movies, like that's in a scale of 0 to 100, that's a 99.7. Like, I don't know, hopefully Resurrection will be as good or better. Like, but for us, that's the bar.
Well, I think it's so cool because it's such a powerful medium, and it goes back to what you were saying originally about how when you were growing up, you were never taught the faith.
Right.
And when you think about how film teaches people lots of things, Can you imagine the world where it's like, okay, people are being taught the faith whether they signed up for it or not, like
Exactly.
they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize I was being taught, because the world is teaching us so many things without us understanding what we're being taught. Imagine if that were used for the gospel
100%.
and used for the faith. I mean, that's
100%. That is why we have to do this.
Yeah.
That is why we have to do this. That's why we're seeking accredited investors to help us fund Godbread. We're creating a new nonprofit called the Gabriel Code Foundation, which will own the app and own the Gabriel Code. So we'll need donors for that. We're going to need movie makers. We're going to need producers. We're going to need the whole gamut, and they're out there. And that's what, looking back, and I cannot watch a movie the same way now that I've read these church documents. I can't. I cannot watch a movie the same way, because I realize I can't overlook or even have, it's actually caused a little bit of confusion in my house, where it's like our 14-year-old wanted to watch a new movie that just came out on Apple TV. It's like, let's watch this movie. I'm like, wait, I've got to make sure and get our tech filter set up and run it through there, because I will not have the name of Jesus blasphemed in this house. And not that my 14-year-old wants to do that either, but he's like, it might be like just one or two times, or, we don't mean that. And I'm like, but we can't allow for that to happen. And that's why it's so important that we're doing what we're doing. We can make amazing films that not only don't have the filth, but have the firepower of being deeply faithful and can be highly artistic.
Yeah.
And it's going to change people's... We talked about, for every 100 Catholics that join the church, 840 leave. Okay? The church in America is dying, and nobody wants to face that fact. People are looking at politics as their savior, and that's not going to cut it. We need to fix America by fixing the Catholic Church. That's what's going to fix America. What is happening in the world today? 5 billion people a day, Keith, watch media with their eyeballs. They watch media. Now, they're doing it right now if they're watching this. I'm not saying that that's bad. That's where people are at right now. Mm-hmm. At first, I was like, it's all horrible. All the eyeballs are going to hell. We don't need any of this. And it's like, this is where we're at. It's kind of like saying, well, get rid of your cell phone. I'd love to do that, but that's not the world that I live in right now. Maybe when I get older, I can do that, but I can't live in that world right now. People are watching media, and we need to be rating it appropriately. We're not going to stop at film, by the way. We're going to rate television. We're going to rate social media. We'll eventually build the algorithm in our app to be able to do all of this. And it's going to take super smart people. And Catholics can be super smart. A lot of people are like, oh, Catholics are just dumb idiots who follow these rules. And no. The best scientists in the world have been Catholic, right? So this is our show. We've got to take it back. We've got to reclaim film for Christ. And all those eyeballs that are watching media, we've got to give them something to watch, because that's where they're at. Those people they're not just showing up to a Knights of Columbus meeting, right? They're consuming media. Mm-hmm. There's so many men who are addicted to porn, and they're sucked into that. We've got to give them an alternative. We've got to remind them that what they're watching is wrong, and it affects their soul and it affects their body. I forgot to mention that one of the things we're doing in the app is we're studying neurocinematics, which is the study of how movies move the mind. And we're going to be researching that and studying that so that people understand, yes, the morality, but also the biology, the science is there. We can bring them both together. So we have to go where people are. We can't just expect that somebody's going to show up at Mass. I was blessed that I went to that Mass that Father Paul Landerwillen spoke and woke me up. It didn't cure me, but it woke me up.
And thank God for that priest and his homily, because how many other priests would have said,
I know.
Hey, we're so happy you're here.
Yeah.
Yay, you made it. Look at you. You're so great.
Right.
Isn't this great?
Right.
Knowing that they're not coming back, and he's just like, don't even bother.
Yeah, no, that's
what you needed,
Exactly.
One of my biggest pet peeves is when the church tries to water itself down in order to try to be relevant and attract people. That's the opposite effect of what it needs to do, because the world the world needs to see something that is transcendent beyond itself to be attracted
Yes.
to it, not just a watered down version of it.
Right.
Why would it do that?
It doesn't work, and it's showing that it's not working, and that's why we have to make deeply faithful and highly artistic. You can't do one or the other. You have to do both. And it's all his. It all belongs to Christ. So we give it back to him because it's his, and he will bless it. He will bless this.
Yeah, and the thing I think that's so interesting about this isn't really about like entertainment. Like I've never heard you say, "Oh, well, we're just trying to, give people something nice to watch." No,
Right.
there's a mission behind this to
right.
save souls and to bring truth to
Right.
the world. This isn't about, well, we just need something nice for our kids to watch because they're out of Little House on the Prairie reruns and we need to create something new.
It's an alternative to SpongeBob. Here you go.
Yeah, no, this is about
Yeah.
mission, and this is
Yes.
about the gospel and evangelism.
Right.
And man, I'm just excited about it. Let me ask you this though,
Mm-hmm.
like, what are the biggest challenges that you're dealing with right now?
Yeah, the biggest challenges have to deal with, okay, we have this vision. How do we skin this cat? What part do we skin first, right? How do we handle this? And it paralyzed us for a little bit, Keith. I mean, it was difficult. And we started doing things, and then we're like, no, let's go back and change this. And then we realized, okay, we need to make God bread. We need to make this film. We need to show the world that we can do this. We can show them. God bread is, in the grand scheme of things, is a tiny budget. It's a $2.1 million budget, which I can't write a check for $2.1 million right now. I wish I could. I probably would have done it by now. But some people can. Some people can scratch that check off. So please let me know if you are out there. But we're going to make this look like a $20 million film because we're using the same technology, the same cameras, the same equipment, the same line producers. We are going to make a $2 million film. It's going to look like a $20 million film, and it's going to be deeply faithful. It's going to look amazing. And so we realized we've got to make God bread. So we're full boat into raising investments for God bread. So we have all that information available to accredited investors. So it can't just be, my Uncle Bert, who he's got like $50 to his name and he wants to donate $20. Like, no, we're not doing that because the SEC regulates all of this. So there's a lot of rules that we have to adhere to.
And there's a difference between a donor and an investor.
There is, right. So an investor is, I'm giving you money. I realize I may not get a dime of it back, and I'm willing to take that risk, even though you're showing me I'm going to get my money back plus a very comparable rate of return to the market. Like we're going to give a respectable rate of return for accredited investors. So a donation, that would be to the Gabriel Code Foundation or to Mass of the Ages, right? So that's something that, hey, you're a 501c3, I give you $20, you give me a piece of paper that says you donated $20 and I get to write that off my taxes. Yep.
Yeah. It's just for people who are interested in that.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
There is a difference.
There's an important difference and a philosophical difference too, because the people who are ready to make investments, that's a different little world than
it's a different world, it's a different bucket of their money, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, okay, well, everybody only has a limited amount of money. So hopefully people are saying, yes, I'm tithing and donating from this amount of money, but I want this amount of money to at least get me my principal back if it's what's called an impact investment. So an impact investment is something that, hey, this is for the kingdom. And if you give me a rate of return over and above my principal, great, but I'm not worried about it, right? And there are people out there that have that kind of money to do that, and God bless them. But for those who are like, look, I'm an accredited investor, I want to invest a minimum of $50,000, great. And you can talk to us and we can show you all the financials that deal with that. So yeah, two different buckets of money, two different philosophies, but that's all a part of this Christocentric film industry. We have to do both of those things. Yep.
Yeah. And as a guy who was an entrepreneur and started his own company and lived in that business world, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me why God would have tapped you on the shoulder, not to mention the fact that your own personal story of redemption and mercy has motivated you to give your life to something
Yes.
that would seem crazy to some people, but because that's what's been there for you. Now, here's what I think, okay? I think it wouldn't have mattered what the mission was. I think that it's a great mission, but I think that if God would have said to you in that moment when you were feeling like you just wanted God to kill you.
Yeah.
And God tapped you on the shoulder and said, I have a mission for you. If that mission would have been for you to, dive to the bottom of the sea and, collect shells for his glory, you would have had the same amount of passion to do that as you do this.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so cool, because what God, I say it all the time, God isn't looking for people who can do things for him. He's looking for people he can do things through.
Right.
And when you are so surrendered to him because you love him, because he's loved you, he can do that thing through you. And then what he's able to do is take you in your giftedness, in the way that he created you,
right,
and say, you are the exact person for this particular mission. But the point isn't the mission itself. The point is your relationship with him.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It all goes back to that relationship.
It all goes
with him.
back to that.
Yes.
Which in turn, it all comes full circle, which in turn is exactly what needs to happen for that mission to be accomplished.
Yes.
Because the mission is not arbitrary. I'm not saying that.
No, you're right.
Like you have to have somebody who, when you're talking about this kind of thing, and people talk to me about this, with what I'm doing too. It's like, why are you so passionate about helping people with conversion?
Right.
It's because of what I've been through.
Yes. Exactly.
And it's because I don't feel like I deserve to do this, but God has given me this incredible mission and this privilege. And like to me, like the fact that you're sitting here in my little room here talking about this mission, like I feel so honored right now to be able to do that, to help get this out to people. Because who knows, maybe there's somebody watching this channel that hadn't heard of Mass of the Ages, or hadn't heard of Movie Crusade, or hadn't heard of Discover Tradition, or whatever. And that's the piece. That's what's so awesome about our faith, is that it's so much bigger than we can possibly imagine. Especially as Catholics, we are aware of that our faith is deeper and wider at the same time.
That's
and so much of the world is either one or the other. But our Catholic faith is both. Yeah.
And you said it, surrender. We have to, like, he must decrease, or pardon me, he must increase. I must decrease. Yeah. That is really what it boils down to. It's one of the things for Cameron and Lucas and me. We realize, like, we have to have our life in check. Like, our relationship with the Lord has to be there, or this thing's going to fail. And we take that very, very seriously. And those two gentlemen are amazing. Even though I'm the CEO of Reclaim Films, they're the guys that I lean on, because they live the faith well, and I can learn from them. I learn from them all the time, because I'm still learning every day, Keith. I'm learning, and I am not at all ashamed to say I'm still clueless. I want to learn. So for us, it's always working on that relationship. We have to have intimate union with God. And I'm so thankful that we realize that. Because even if Reclaim Films, Mass of the Ages, everything that we're doing fails, we're not going to fail if we have that relationship with Christ and we're getting ourselves sanctified, our wives sanctified, our children sanctified. So it's all about surrendering, because our will is constantly at odds with God's will. For me, it is, for sure.
Amen.
I'm constantly saying, like, wait, why did I, and Allison will point this out, why did you act like that in the airport? Did you hear what the TSA person said to me? Like, no, I had to tell, like, she's like, there's no charity in that. I'm like, oh, great. Like, yes, I have got a lot of work to do. Like, you were exactly right, babe. I'm so sorry. And she's like, you've got to surrender your will and take it. Like, take it. Take your darn shoes off, pal. If that's what they say, right? You know? So you hit the nail on the head. We have to surrender our will to God's will, and we have to be growing in that intimate union with him every single day. We can't take the foot off the gas.
Amen. Well, I've got 3 more questions for you that I ask pretty much everybody that sits in that seat.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm always interested to hear the answers. And the first one is this: what's the most important thing that you would tell someone who is considering the Catholic faith?
The most important thing is to know that Jesus Christ is wholly and substantially present, body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Eucharist. I stake my life on this. My family stakes their life on this. Millions of people stake their life on that fact. And that when you consume him in the Eucharist, it's transformative. We cannot get any closer to heaven on earth than when we receive communion. It's why I receive it now only on my knees and only on my tongue, because I feel God has said that to me. So that to me is the most important thing to know, is that you can too receive him, and to read John chapter 6 and to know that you do not have life within you until you've consumed Jesus Christ in the Eucharist.
Excellent answer. Question number 2. Mm-hmm. What's the most important thing you would tell someone who is actively converting to the faith? They've decided they're going to be Catholic, but they're in the process, or they're a brand new Catholic.
So they've converted, or what?
Yeah, like they're in OCIA. Or
okay,
like
yeah,
in their
okay.
first year.
All right.
Like they don't need to be convinced.
Good.
But they're
Good.
like on the journey. They're like in this.
This is just the first step. It's not I did it. Now, so it's time to take it serious, but also understand that this is just this is a step. This is the step. It's the step, but there are going to be other steps, and that you're doing the right thing. Like, and we're praying for you. You've got millions of people praying that whoever it is that you are out there that's converting, I say yes, and I'm going to give you a high five, a bear hug, a beer and a stein, whatever you want. I will give it to you, because conversion is what changes the world. And conversion to the Catholic faith is what's going to change America. It's what's going to change the world. So don't stop. Keep going, and keep listening to Keith Nestor, because he's going to tell you what to do once you convert.
I did not put him up.
No, I'm saying that's what happens, right?
Oh, man. We could stop right there, but I have a third question. That's going to be a YouTube short right there. I can just say that right now. What would you say the most important thing is for the person who's been Catholic their whole life? They're in the church. It's just the air they breathe. They're the cradle Catholic, and your average. They're trying to be faithful. They're but they're just in the church.
Is to focus on the interior life. So that is the one thing necessary. So saints have written about this, and intimate union with God comes with intimate prayer life. And I had no idea about this until 2 wonderful human beings taught me this. Daniel and Kevin from SOCA. It's a great Catholic apostolate, Souls of the Christian Apostolate. They actually teach you how to pray. Like, I had no idea how to pray, and they taught me. So that was basically me. It's like, I'm Catholic. I'm doing my thing. I'm going to confession, but I didn't know how to pray. That's an essential part. So I would say that for that individual, focus on the interior life. Read about the interior life. Read about what the saints talk about. St. Alphonsus Liguori talks about this excessively in his writings, is that prayer time, we have to do it. We have to do it every day and make it a regulated thing. Like, when I wake up, I get on my knees and I say, Servium. I will serve you, Lord, today and all the days of my life. And then it's time to get into some personal prayer time. I do make the coffee, and then I go into personal prayer time, right? Because that's what we have to do. Yeah. And so in the interior life, making prayer the bedrock of your life, that's what that individual needs to do.
Great answer, man. Wow. Well, this has been a joy, dude. And again, thank you for having me down to Florida for a mini crusade. I had so much fun.
We're doing it again. Like, you're coming back.
I would love to, man. I had a ton of fun doing that. If you guys haven't seen those episodes yet, I'll link them in the description of this video. But check out, we did 3 episodes when I was down there talking about different films. And like I said earlier, Tony was with me most of the way, and then he kind of backtracked. His camera gave him a hard time. But we had a ton of fun doing that.
That was a blast.
But honestly, the best part of that trip was, like you said, was the airport ride.
That was killer.
Just getting to learn about you and hear your story. And thank you for coming here, man. I mean, it's a big deal. You flew all the way out here and braving the cold.
We made it, man.
To share this with people.
We made it.
I hope that...
thank you for letting me come out here. This is, what you're doing is great. I'm praying for you. I beg everybody watching this, pray for Keith, pray for his family, pray for me and my family and Cameron and Lucas and our whole team. God does not change, but prayer can change the world.
Amen. Amen.
So let's pray. Let's keep praying, right?
Let's do it, brother. Well, thank you so much, brother.
All right, man.
Awesome.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Catholic Feedback with Keith Nestor. Send in your questions or comments to feedback@catholicfeedback.com. Catholic Feedback is brought to you by Stewardship, a Mission of Faith, and our generous supporters on Patreon, locals, and donations through our website. Catholic Feedback is a production of Down to Earth Ministries. For more information or to bring me to your parish or event, please visit our website at downtoearthministry.org. That's down, the number 2, earthministry.org. See you next time.